Good morning, YouTube. I'm gonna ride and chat with y'all, but not really look at the screen. I know I should have waited till I got out the bush. Greetings once again. I usually have another channel which I share some of these things, but I'm thinking about integrating a whole lot of thought because for those who may be new, a lot of the information that I share from this channel is always from a biblical based foundation. I don't necessarily get into doctrinal fights back and forth, but I do get into observations, right? I get into observations and thoughts behind things and behaviors. So there was a lot of people in the Bible-based community, I'm just calling it that right now, who are in the space that are Mr. Holder about and how they rectify keeping Yom Kippur. This thing is hating a little bit. I should have waited till I got a little. It's all good. There is a way in which we ask questions to either provoke thought. I'm a question asker who provokes thought. There's a way in which we ask questions. There's an energy and intent behind the way in which we ask questions. So essentially, the question that was asked sparked a whole lot of conversation, but it also revealed a whole lot of things. They say if you live in glass houses, don't throw stones. Meaning, if one is willing to examine the other party, I think it's fair that the other side answer the question to the best of their ability, but because I answered the question and basically I said something that seems to agitated a few people, which is that both sides of this particular discussion come up short. And given that whether you believe in New Testament and you don't believe in New Testament, they come up short as it relates to this particular day of Yom Kippur. I'll just use it for example to stay on point. And what happened is when we present a mirror to one another, I'm going to get into the soul part of this conversation. And the dissonance that we are so sure exists in the mind of the other person, when that is present in us, it's like playing hot potato. You understand? So we look to put it back. We look to project it. We look to give, and this can be taken across the board. I'm just using this because I just had this personal experience. And so when we feel so secure, and when somebody asks us, "Are you sure?" You know what I'm saying? Are you sure that you're sure about what you're talking about? And we feel uncomfortable. Then we look to project that back onto someone else, actually the person who is making us feel uncomfortable. So for instance, if we're feeling prideful in the moment, we're going to say they're feeling prideful in the moment. If we're trying to win a conversation, we're going to say they're trying to win the conversation. You understand? Because why we don't like that feeling. We see it in politics, we see it in relationships, we see it in religion. Okay, and what happens in religion as opposed to spirituality, when we're seeking truth and elevation, what happens in religion is that we buy into this construct, this understanding based on whatever teacher you're sitting under. And if there is specifically in the Bible, if there are certain things that we cannot understand, or there are some missing pieces, or there are some things that we can't rectify, what happens is people make it up. They make it up, and then they say, hey, the version that I made up is better than the version that you made up. But all of that is a lack of humility, because the reality is, if one doesn't know, then one should say they don't know. If one is presuming, then one should say that they are presuming. So this particular young lady, I found it interesting that when I made a statement, and I didn't necessarily call any names, the young that she automatically says, so I am saying, like she concludes that I am saying that everyone is going to hell. Okay, that again is what you are. There are all of these different parts. If we pull one thing, if we say one thing, people are going to look to associate it with something else. And I've shared this before. People are going to look to associate what we're saying with all of the books or all of the files or all of the data that's in their mental library. It's very important for us to understand how we work. And why communication breaks down, because in this particular situation, communication broke down because the person felt confused, right? So if I say something, instead of, if we have pride, or if we have arrogance, or if we say we already know, then I'm already going to conclude that based on what you're saying, it means X, Y, and Z. And that cannot be the case, because the person's paradigm might not be the same as yours. The person's conclusions, the person's understanding may not be the same as yours. So they may not come to that same outcome that you're coming to. This is something for us to keep in the forefront of our minds in whatever conversation that you're going to. So when I sought to get clarity on who said that you were going to hell, it all like, and I know it's early, so I know y'all probably gonna catch this on the replay and be like, what is the Buddha talking about? For those who joined us, I'm venting a little bit and just using the opportunity to share certain things that, like I said, our communication as people was compromised. People's communication, period. But melanated people, specifically in this diaspora, is greatly compromised. A, because we lack respect, right? B, there's a lot of lack of empathy and understanding where somebody else is coming from. And we don't necessarily always value the person unless the person is telling us what we want to hear, or the person is agreeing with us. You don't always have to agree with me. I do ask that we are respectful. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference. You don't have to agree with everything I say. And people claim like, oh, Muna, I don't rock with that, whatever. That's fine. But when we get to disrespect, and that's where the conversation kind of devolved, because the person got to such a disrespectful space that in their projection, that they began not guarding their mouth, which is also a wisdom principle, and they began spewing out without even having no reference, just by not liking what I was saying or felt a kind of way. So I wanted to talk quickly about logical fallacies, which I found fallacies in the initial question that was posed by the Sister Hilda, right? And therefore the responses are what they are. They're logical fallacies. We know that there are a whole lot. They're hasty generalizations, that we falsely conclude to something. I saw a lot of people in the comment section appealing to emotion, and all of these things we do when our argument, for lack of a better word, or what we are basing our understanding off of, is not firm in our own minds. It's like, okay, I used to sew, right? I still sew. So say you sewing something. When you first cut the pattern out and you base stitch, this is old school, you base stitch. You didn't really put it on the machine. You didn't put it on the serger yet. You just base stitching to see how it's going to fall on the body before you actually do the final stitching, okay? When you base stitching, you can't, the person who was looking like, oh, how it looked, they can't come up to you, start pulling on the arm, start pulling on the skirt. You're going to be like, whoa, what you doing? What are you doing? Why are you doing that? You're going to make the thing come apart because it's not securely attached, right? Some of these doctrines and some of these understandings are base stitched together, right? They're not securely attached. So once you begin to ask the question, how is one's sin atoned for? Based on your religious ideology or your thought process, what you've been taught, it's going to be, according to the sacrifice in the New Testament, it's going to be either it's not being atoned for. And if somebody says, okay, then it's not being atoned for, then the person is like, whoa, wait a minute, does that mean I'm going to hell? Now, hell is another construct. It's another understanding. It's another religious doctrine that one has to go and look at the roots of that. And all of this stuff that I'm talking about, it takes time and patience. And it takes being willing to be uncomfortable in what you don't know. And what I have found, because this is not my first rodeo, I've actually, I just came back to YouTube. I've been missing for how long I've been missing, y'all? 7-8 months. I had to take a break. I'm working on some other things because I realized that the battleground for the mind is so great that everybody wants real estate. And some people are selling junk properties. Some people are selling properties they don't have any title to. They don't have there's liens on it. You understand what I'm saying? Some people are selling, like in other countries, selling land that they don't even own. You understand what I'm saying? And we're buying into it. And it's hurting us in the long run. I have run programs where I speak to Messianics, non-Messianics, people I don't agree with. But how can we come to an understanding? Or if I do have truth, how can I share that to you if I have no respect? and what is happening in the conscious community and religious community and Hebrew community, people don't have any respect. And they say, well, I don't have to have respect. Really? Really? Then that will conclude, yeah, you have concluded in your mind that you have arrived. And the reality is that you have not arrived. And we don't like to hear that. For instance, I just finished the book, what's the name of the book? The Very First Time. It's a novel, okay? And I finished it. I put it through edits, and finished it. Boom. I'm looking at it just this morning because I was wanting to send some out. And then I'm like, oh man, there's some stuff I could fix right here. There's some stuff that I can improve right here. But if I'm like, yo, I did it, I'm the best to ever do it, it's done. That's the attitude of a person that's finished growing, that's finished elevating, because you think that everything that you say, every minute that you open your mouth, you're 100% correct at all times. Not so. Then I read in some of the groups that I'm in, somebody was like, yo, the worst thing somebody could see is a typo on your stuff. And other people answered correctly. I have read published authors who have typos. So they said to err is human, correct? So we as humans are going to err. As long as we're on this earth, we're going to err. How do we deal with the way in which we err or err or error? Do we go around attacking someone because they pointed it out? If we do see someone erring, do we point it out? If the person is unwilling, do we just leave them alone? Do we wrangling them to the ground? Like, how do we deal? I see one of the young brothers from the NOI ask the same questions about why people are not coming together, even though they're in this space. There's many things that came up. One thing that came up this morning, like I said, in another space, is trauma bonding. We mistake trauma bonding for people actually wanting to work together because it's in their best interest to do so. If somebody or bodies are connecting, for instance, the thought of being cursed in captivity and dispersed is something that is negative, right? Because curses are negative. And people are bonded around that idea of being cursed, of being dispersed, of being wanderers. So it creates found each other in jail. It's being bonded, like they say, Stockholm Syndrome. You're being bonded through a negative experience. Okay? I was flowing, y'all. Let me know if I was talking to myself. I don't know how long I was talking to myself, but I was flowing. So basically, I was talking about trauma bonding. I was talking about addressing people keep asking the same questions of why we cannot work together, and being somebody who has tried to kind of bridge a gap between people who have different ideologies. What I found is that when people come to the table, they're not coming to the table genuinely. They're not coming to the table genuinely. They're coming to the table to say that, listen, I'm right and you're wrong, right? And because of that way in which we come to the table, it causes a static. I've experienced it. And I'm like, what in the world? Okay, no attacking, no name calling, no such and such. Let me just ask you real serious questions. And when somebody, because we like to run ahead, and this is actually what happened to me in this exchange that I had. The person saw that I was asking a line of questions. What happens is, like children, we get jumpy, right? So when somebody's asking questions, we then presume that we know the line of questioning that they're going to. I know where you're going. I know what you're about to say. And so that's why I'm like, I said, let's just take it a minute, a step at a time. You may think you know what I'm about to say, but humor me. You know what I mean? Humor me. Let's walk down this path together. Maybe we'll discover something. You know what's so interesting? In reading the Bible especially, I picked up Genesis. I was looking for something else because I asked the question, and I was looking to do a study about something else, and then I found just this last Shabbat, I found something else. I was like, wow, I never really even noticed that before, or I saw it halfway and I didn't see the fullness, right? So even if we think we know where the person is going, even if we think we understand what they're about to get to, give them a minute. I know it's hard because I've done it in times past, like, yo, just get to the point. Give them a minute. Give them a minute to, you may think you know, but you may not know. So back to the situation. When we have to confess something, it feels, and we were holding a different position. Oftentimes, it makes something feel like it takes something off of us, right? It takes something off of us, like, oh, we took an L. So all of those feelings, the young lady projected it back on me. And I'm like, what? Like, first of all, lady, I study people for a living. That's what I do. You feel me? So I see all through this Maybelline, like Jada Pinkett said in Little Down Dirty Shame. I see all through your Maybelline. I see all through this Maybelline. This is clearly projection. This is clearly the feelings that you're holding, and because they're uncomfortable, I'm going to give them to you and say this belongs to you. Those are not mine. That's not my experience. Those are not my feelings. Long story short, in this particular situation that we can use, the young lady erased all the comments. The nasty ones that she made towards me, the ad hominem attacks that she made towards me, the ill wishes that she put towards me, erased. But I've had this type of experience before, and usually when we see a conversation going in like a sticky area, we kind of, I'm like, let me just save this, because I like to reflect on what I say. I like to reflect on what other persons are saying. I watch back my videos and be like, yo, Muna, you was wrong right here. That was underdeveloped right there. So I like to self-critique, you feel me? So I took some, YouTube, they kind of like send you when somebody replies to you. So I have the evidence of the conversation. So it was clear that she had a whole lot to say, and then she erased what she said and only left something that made it look like I was talking to myself. I was like, well, this is weird. Especially if we're talking about the Day of Atonement, especially if you're talking about people, and this is where it comes from, the feeling like we're doing something. And I did make that statement that we want to sometimes feel like we're doing something even when we're not doing it. It's like the baby, mommy, am I doing it? And the mother's over there like, yeah, baby, you're doing it. And baby ain't doing spit. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, the young lady erased the comments. And I'm like, yo, why did you erase the comments? I'm not going to assume. I said, did you erase the comments? And if so, I'm glad I got screenshots. Well, the screenshot conversation, the accountability, you cannot disrespect people and pop off at the mouth and do all of this stuff and then pretend like it didn't matter, or pretend like you didn't do it, right? This is a lot of the issues that some people have with Christianity, that the slave master during slavery, the slave master simultaneously was able to do all of the heinous crimes that they did and attend church on Sunday. This is the dichotomy. How were you able to do all of this and then sit in a church on Sunday? There is something that people are subscribing to within this particular doctrine that allows you to rectify that dissonance that is going to be within your soul. And if anybody knows, feel free to share. There are many things that when you read along the way that tells you that you can do this and this at the same time. And you can be okay with doing it. So we see that melanated people, they was like, that's the slave master's religion, and they go to Islam, and you go to, back to Africa, and you go to African spirituality, and you go to all of these things, because the thought of identifying with ideology that allowed for you to be abused while praising the deity of this particular religion, there has to be something wrong with that. And if that's the case, then I don't want anything to do with it. This is the mindset when you listen to a lot of what people are saying, and you have to say you have some valid points. That's not to say Islam doesn't support slavery. This is where here's a difference now. If you're speaking to somebody in Islam and they say, hey, I can't support I can't support Christianity because of X, Y, and Z, and then at the same time Islam supports slavery, and you now turn the mirror back, it's going to be projected back onto you, unless the person is being totally honest and say, you know what, yes, I always had questions about that. That part always did make me feel uncomfortable. There are places where you can say, that part always did make me feel uncomfortable. Or I always asked questions, but I never really got answers to that particular section. For those who've joined us, welcome. I'm venting a little bit as I drive to work out because I find it funny, but then I find it not because we keep looping. So just for those who just joined us, I'm going to recap. When we feel uncomfortable in conversation, be aware that the reality is, as the person is talking, like right now, I'm talking and your mind is running. Be aware if we're spitting back or projecting back our personal thoughts, not necessarily what the person said, but how I feel about the person and what I feel about what they said, that we're not putting that back on the person. Because that's like saying you said, and then we get into the whole argument, when did I say that? So, and my mother has a tool that she often uses. It's like, what I'm hearing you say is, so because there's always takeaway, right? From conversations and observations that we have. It will be helpful if we repeat active listening, repeat back to the person what they're saying, and then ask for clarity if we don't understand what they're saying. So if I say something, for instance, in this case, I said Torah and Messianics all are not able to keep the Day of Atonement according to the prescription. Somebody may be triggered by that. And so if you have a question, you say, you can repeat, Amuna, you said such and such. Is that what you said? I say yes or no. Then you can say, well, can I get clarity on that? Because I'm not understanding where you're going with this. Or do you have a point? Or does that mean? Because even if you draw a conclusion, you ask the person who you're speaking to, is that what they are concluding? Again, we get into things on the internet. People, by the way, people got enough mouth on the internet. Me nah lie. People big and bold on the internet. Right? And when them say people, them can't even really say people. Okay? So we take our experiences on the internet. We take our experiences in the workplace. We take our experiences in our relationship. And one of our issues, if communication is one of our issues, then we learn from where communication breaks down. And we say, actively listening to what the person is saying, asking for clarity about what the person is saying, and realize that the person may be coming from a total different vantage point, and it behooves us, if we're interested to know, we ask. If we're not interested to know, then we just take what they said and we keep it moving. But when we devolve into this lower estate of, I'm going to call you names, da 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 da, and then any questions or comments? I'm almost at work, but that's it was a little on my mind because I'm like, yo, when we have to just believe, when we have to just believe, it becomes a problem when someone, like I said before, begins to examine what we just believe. Okay? Now, what I was going to say. Let me see. I talked about projection. I talked about ad hominems. I talked about logical fallacies. Humility. I talked about humility. Repentance essentially is turning back, turning around from what it is that you are doing, going the other way. That's what repentance is. It's in English, it is repentance. In Hebrew, it's shuv, right? And it has to do with turning around and going the other way. Like right now, I'm going to work, but if I say, oh, I'm going to work, I'm going the wrong way. Oh man, I'm going the wrong way. Then I would have to turn around. Essentially, I repented. So it's really concrete and practical. If somebody's going in the wrong direction with their behavior, they have to first acknowledge that they're going the wrong, their behavior is undesirable. Now, when asked this young lady why she erased it, she proceeded to talk about she's not wrong and I'm trying to prove myself right and all of this stuff. I'm like, what in the world is all of this got to do with the price of tea in China? Right? What is, and that's what we do, because we realize that, hey, I may have been out of pocket right here. Instead of owning it, we find a way to, shimmy sham up. So quotations. So again, thank everybody for tuning in. Thanks for letting me ride out and just reflect on just some of the madness. I remember a few years ago I did with sister with on a platform that I no longer am on because of some of the similar things. And it was a question about Messianic, non-Messianic. It's the same question people have about why black people and white people, why Christians and Muslims, why Jews. This is the same dynamic across the board of why can't we? You feel me? And everybody who keeps asking that is because you don't want to. Because you don't want to. And because we don't respect, or because I cannot, based on whatever thought process I hold. Right? And it's okay if I say, hey, based on this thought process I hold, and there's people in my life, based on what I subscribe to, that I cannot support. Because supporting that person would be contrary to what it is that I subscribe to. I don't disrespect you. I'm just letting it be known that what I subscribe to does not allow for me to support that. There's plenty of... Yeah, there's a little bump right there. There's plenty of people, I mean countless, in doing the restaurant business that I do. Say, hey, Amuna, you want to come out on Saturdays? We got a market. That's the busiest day. Da-da-da-da-da. This, that, and the third. I just got an invite the other day. You know, you want to be a vendor? This, that, and the third. You know what? Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the offer. But I'm not going to be able to do it on that day. If it's any other day, just let me know. Do you know how much stuff I've passed up? Because of what I've subscribed to. I didn't say, no, you wicked, this, that, and the third. I'm not beating them over the head, carrying on, acting crazy. I'm just saying for me, because of what I subscribe to, I cannot support X, Y, and Z. And you know the people keep asking? And they will remember me for another day? Do you know that people have changed their events to another day when they're planning events because they most... I've had people change whole events to say, Amuna, it's on a Sunday. I know you can make it. My point, if you say what you have is the truth, if you say what you have, I think I need to stop at how many more lettuces do I have? I think I'm gonna run to the store and see if they got lettuce. My point being, if I've learned over the years, and I haven't always been this way, okay, I was a little more rough around the edges, you feel me? But if you say what you have is correct and true, that means it can stand up to scrutiny. It can stand up to examination. You can stand up to examination and scrutiny. What tires? They said the tires is tested and approved. That means when it's on the road, that means when your car goes on the road, it has to go to the test. And if you're like, nah, don't look under the hood. Nah, why you got to kick my tire for? Oh no, why are you doing that? And getting all mad, then they're like, whoa, you got something to hide. One of the things I like to do in my pastime is watch judge shows. I find them funny. And B, you see human behavior and what people are trying to hide. If I'm selling you a car, but I tell you, I'm selling you a car, I'm selling you doctrine, I'm selling you ideology, I'm selling you my viewpoint, right? And you can't look under the hood. You can't start the engine. You gotta just trust me. You feel me? I'm going through this light. It's still yellow. You gotta just trust what I say. That should be like a red flag. Right? What? I get upset. I deflect. You know what I'm saying? I carry on. I make a whole, you're like, whoa, hold on. I'm gonna need you to calm down. I'm gonna need you to bring it down a little bit. What's going on here? And then you want me to pay your price, no negotiation. What's up? What's going on here? That's a red flag. I'm telling everybody right now, that is a red flag. You go on Craigslist. I don't even know if Craigslist is popping now, because ever since Facebook Marketplace came out, and Craigslist is not necessarily as popping as it used to be. But back in the day, you go on Craigslist, somebody got a car for sale. The honest ones will tell you that I keep going down. They're going to keep it all the way gully. That's the honest ones. The dishonest ones will be like, good condition. But you expect that when you go see this car, you are be able to turn the car on, drive the car around, and check out the car before you buy into this car. People are selling religious doctrines, ideologies, whether it be self-help, whether it be whatever it is. They're selling us stuff and then telling us, nah, don't look around. You good? Just and you got the money? Huh? Huh? Just because we know the person. I'll do this one more story as I pull up to the store. I went to go get a deep freezer. This is a true story. It just happened last week. I've been looking for a deep freezer, but an affordable deep freezer, right? Because the spot is not that big. So I've been looking from before this whole COVID situation, right? And it's coming like everybody from since COVID, everybody want deep freezers. So there's no deep freezers in the store. So I've been looking on Facebook Marketplace, can't find them, can't find it. Every time I find one, it's gone. The person just buys it just like that. Anyway, I saw this last one and it was a reasonable price. It was actually lower than all of the other deep freezers I've seen. So I'm getting a call on Facebook and I was like, yo, I don't answer calls on Facebook. Who is this? You know what I mean? I don't even know the person. Even if I know the person, I'd be like, why are they calling me on Facebook? Anyway, I'm a little weird. So the person calls again. I'm like, yo, who is this person? Why do they keep calling me on the book? So I write the person like, yo, everything good? So they're like, hey, you at the farmer's market anymore? I'm like, yo, I haven't been there a while. So I'm like, apparently this person knows me from, cooking and stuff. So cool. So the person's like, I didn't put the two together that the person who was calling me was the person who had the freezer. Right? So when the person said the freezer is still available, I went back and clicked to see, oh, chill, this is the person who was selling the freezer, and they also know me. So they said they had hundreds of responses, but she was a bit apprehensive from meeting up with just anybody. And when she clicked on my profile, she realized she knew me because I see her in the supermarket. She know I got a shop, this, that, and the third. So she said she felt comfortable selling it to me. Listen to me, because I'm talking about what I'm talking about is all going to come together. She said she felt comfortable. So there is a rapport with this person, right? The person is feel familiar having this exchange. What did I always say? Communication is commerce. Communication is commerce. Look it up. You ain't got to believe me. Look it up. So therefore, I'm interacting in commerce with her, in communication, one, and in product exchange, two. So she felt comfortable with me and not with others because she was familiar with me. We go to YouTube channels, we go to books, we go to people because we feel comfortable with the person, and therefore we're more receptive to the information that they're giving us. Follow the story now. I hope they have my letters. What time is it? 10 o'clock. So when I arrive, she was like, oh, yo, I'm glad to see you, this, that, and the third. And then she reiterates what I'm saying to you, how comfortable she felt, this, that, and the third. But she says to me, are you going to check it out? Are you going to check it out? Because now I'm so comfortable. I almost got caught slipping. I'm so comfortable that A, the price was right. You know what I'm saying? B, she was familiar and I knew her. I see her a couple of times in the store. I sit down, chop it up with her, this, that, and the third. So I was so comfortable that she was so comfortable that I almost forgot that I needed to check out the wares. Right? So then she was like, she was looking at me like, yo, what's good with you? You're not going to check out the freezer? So I was like, oh, yeah. So she wanted to was honest. She wanted to show me all of the places that, okay, this is what I put baking soda in here, a little bit spilled, the light on the bottom, it comes on, but it flickers a little bit. So she was honest and she was telling me all of the things that might be of concern. And then later she says, if it is not to your specifications or what you like, just give me a call. You understand? So you have all of these things in place. And I was like, no problem. And I took the freezer and I gave her the money. This is the exchange. We're always exchanging. Somebody's giving us an idea, we taking an idea. Somebody's giving us a service, we giving them our money. There's always give and take, exchange. Just like this, spiritual exchange, physical exchange, mental exchange. We make the exchange is good. My point being, when we come into these spaces, if somebody doesn't allow for you to respectfully look at and look over what they're trying to present to you, that is a red flag. It's a red flag. if they get agitated, indifferent, resentful, deflective, if they start playing mind games, red flag. You understand what I say? And I'm about to run in the store. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and thank you guys for rocking with me this morning. I'm gonna run in the store because we open back up. You feel me? And we open back up for lunch for those who just joined us. And so I'm trying to get over there and do what it is that I have to do. If you enjoyed this, let me know. I might chop it up with y'all on my ways to work every now and again. Yeah. So with that said, I'll come back again and talk more later, but I'm gonna run in the store real quick. All right. Oh, I got a joke. If they treat you like how sometimes New York and Chinatown they treat you, you buy or you get out. You buy, no touch goods. You want it, you get out. That's how they be doing. And I be like, yo, lady, I don't even want to buy at your shop. I used to be that person. Like, yo, I don't even want to buy at your shop. The moment you go in Chinatown, I don't know how many people in Chinatown, and you're like, oh, this is a nice slipper. They egging you mad hard. They going in on you. You're like, what in the world is wrong with you? You buy it, you get out. I'm like, yo, forget it. Take your stuff, yo. I'm out. Because then next thing you know, you go buy the thing, you wear it one time, fall apart. You feel me? So I need to know the quality of the goods that I'm taking in and that I'm consuming. But with that said, let me just run inside for our next little lettuce. We'll talk again, everybody. All right. One. Ooh.